Wazanga Bwenzi, chill a bit, because what's happening in Mwamatama right now is nothing short of wild, crazy, and kind of brilliant all at once. Imagine a community standing up, publicly saying, "We want stuff, send us things, we're doing lots." And no, this isn't a comedy sketch, this is real life. I'm your host on Global Pulse News, at Global Pulse News, bringing you the nitty-gritty of a plea so bold it's got everyone talking. Today, we're breaking down 10 facts about the plea from Mwamatama, what it means, how people are reacting, and why you should care. Strap in, hold tight. This ride's going to be sharp, cheeky, full of insight, and yes, some cheeky slang, because Malawi style is what we run with. Let's get into it. In Mwamatama, the story began when a group, yes, a full group, not just one person, came out and made a public declaration. We want to be sent things. And I'm not talking about a private whisper or a low-key hint. No, sir. They stood up and said openly, "Send us stuff, we're doing to be sent." Now, you might raise an eyebrow and ask, who is the we? What kind of stuff are they talking about? That's exactly the punch of this first fact. It is rare, my friends, for a community to publicly ask for aid or items in such unfiltered language. Usually the ask is couched in politeness. We request your support. We humbly seek help. But here in Mwamatama, the ask is bold, direct, and unwrapped. And that's why this first fact is important. It sets the stage, tells us the tone, and signals this is not the usual charity plea. It's loud, clear, bold, and you can't ignore it. So yes, Mwamatama has entered the ring, not quietly, but with a microphone, telling the world we're open for sending. But hang on a minute. If the plea is bold, then the promise behind it is even bolder. Let's move to fact 2. Alright, so last bit we looked at the ask. Now here comes the promise. The group from Mwamatama didn't just say send us things and left it there. No, they said we will keep going until we get these things. That until makes all the difference. It means there is persistence. There is expectation. They are not waiting quietly. They are declaring a commitment to the objective. In Malawi slang, you might say they are staunch. They are rolling in with full force, not playing small. And it reveals the mindset. We won't stop, we won't relax until our goal is achieved. Now, what's interesting is the things they refer to remain unspecified, which opens up a world of possibilities and speculation. Are the things material goods? Are they structural supports? Are they symbolic tokens? Because when you promise something open-ended like things, you're inviting imagination, expectation, and yes, critique. The community is basically saying, we're going full steam, we're pressing, we expect you to respond. It's more than a request, it's a mission. And that's why this promise is a big deal in understanding what's going on in Mwamatama. Cool, but you probably want to know where this all started, so let's rewind a little and dig into fact 3. To truly grasp the significance of what's happening in Mwamatama, you've got to roll back to the context, the whisper of trouble, the hum of unmet needs, the feeling of we've been ignored long enough. Behind the public plea lies a story of everyday struggles, whether it's infrastructure that's degraded, resources that are thin, opportunities that haven't been heard properly, or voices that haven't been heard properly. Think of it like someone living in the back of the house for years, watching the front door get new polish, new paint, while theirs stays dusty. Then one day they walk out and say, "Time's up, see me now." That's what Mwamatama is doing. They are stepping into the spotlight. They're saying, our story matters, and they're doing it loudly. The fact that they chose this route shows dissatisfaction, yes, but also agency. They are not just waiting, they are acting. And when a community shifts from waiting to declaring, it changes the game. So this backstory, while subtle, matters a lot. It gives weight to the bold ask. Without this, the plea might look frivolous, but with this context, the plea gains depth. Now that we know where it came from, let's look at how the public has responded. On to fact 5. And now we get to the juicy bit, how people are reacting. Because when Mwamatama made their public plea and promise, the chatter began. Some folks say, finally, they said it out loud. Others say, wait, hold up, is this entitlement disguised as activism? The reaction is a mix of cheers, gasps, memes, and serious debate. In Malawi parlance, the jive is heavy. Social media is lighting up. Neighbors are talking. Even people far away are scratching their heads or giving high fives. Why? Because this kind of ask forces us to look at ourselves. When help is asked, are we passive or active? Are we comfortable with aid, or do we demand something in return? Also, the public reaction underlines one big thing: visibility. Once you go public, you turn from being a need, silent in the shadows, into a subject, center stage. That means your mistakes may be more visible, your voice louder, your expectations higher. For Mwamatama, stepping into that space means they are not just recipients, they are participants in a public dialogue, and that's powerful. Okay, so everyone's talking, but what are they actually asking for? Fact 5 is where we dig into that. Now, here's where the intrigue builds. What exactly are the things being asked for by Mwamatama? So far, we know the ask and the promise, but the actual items remain unspecified. They're calling them things. And you know what that does? It invites curiosity, speculation, expectation, and debate. It's like someone says, I'm going to build something big, but doesn't say what. You lean in. You ask, big how? For what purpose? What scale? In Malawi slang, you might call that keeping them guessing. And yes, they might be doing exactly that. Because when you leave your ask open-ended, you give yourself flexibility and you keep the conversation alive. Maybe they're looking for infrastructure support. Maybe they want materials. Maybe they want skills training. Or maybe they simply want recognition. The vagueness doesn't mean weakness. It can mean cunning. It means the community is shaping the narrative on their terms. They decide the shape, the timing, the response. And that in itself is a strategy. For observers and for you watching, you have to pay attention, ask questions, stay curious, because the things might end up being more than you thought. All right, ask known, promise made, context clear, items vague. Now comes the part about accountability. Fact 6.
So here we are, with an ask and a public promise. The next thing is, who's watching? Who's accountable? When Mwamatama puts itself on the line like this, the expectations are raised. And the watchers ask, what motive lies behind it? Is it purely need? Is there political gain? Social capital? Media visibility? In Malawi, questions of oversight are as real as sunrise. Because once you say, send us things, people want to know, what are those things? Who manages them? How do they reach the people? Will there be follow-up? Will there be transparency? For a community to step into this space boldly means that they have to deal with scrutiny. And yes, they seem ready for it, or at least they have opened the door. For supporters and critics alike, the accountability question becomes, is this community ready to show its cards? Because public ask brings public expectation. And it could be good for change, good for voice, but it also means higher stakes. So this fact is about turning the spotlight from the ask to the askers, and that's part of what makes the story of Mwamatama so compelling. But every climb has risk, and Fact 7 shows the risks involved in this bold move. Look, when you go loud, you sign up for spotlight. For the Mwamatama plea, that means risk. First risk, backlash. Some folks might call it entitlement. Others might ask, why haven't you done this quietly? Others might say, who made you the voice for this? Then there's dependency risk. If a community becomes known publicly for asking for things, there's a chance that the narrative becomes, we're always waiting to receive, rather than we are mobilizing to act. That can affect reputation over time. People might start expecting less of you, or framing you as recipients rather than agents. And finally, reputation stakes. When you're public, every misstep or delay becomes amplified. So Mwamatama's move is courageous, yes, but it's also walking a tightrope. They have taken a gamble, voice over invisibility, boldness over blend-in. And that risk itself is noteworthy, because the outcome isn't guaranteed. They may win big, voice heard, change mobilized, or they may face critique and fatigue. That's the reality when you make a public ask in Malawi style. Okay, we talked risk. Now let's look at the flip side, the upside. Fact 8. Right, so the risk is significant, but so is the upside. Because when Mwamatama says send us things publicly, they are also saying we are part of the conversation. That's powerful. They may not just be asking, they may be mobilizing. They may be shifting from passive to active. Imagine a community that has been silent now raising its voice. That changes dynamics. It sends a message to donors, to government, to neighbors: we are here, we matter. This kind of visibility can lead to real results, resources flowing, support arriving, partnerships forming. And in a country like Malawi, where many communities feel neglected, that shift matters. It's not just about items, it's about recognition, agency, and voice. Mwamatama might be using the public ask as a lever, not just a half-wish. And that lever could lift more than just physical things. It could lift presence, identity, hope. That's the bright side of this bold move, and why we must keep an eye on it. Right, so now we zoom out. Fact 9 is about the bigger picture beyond Mwamatama. Yes, Mwamatama is one place, but this event tells a bigger story. In Malawi and beyond, when a community publicly demands support in this way, it raises questions about voice, power, aid, development. It asks, who decides the agenda? Who asks for what, and who listens? It reminds us that receiving aid or support doesn't have to be silent, unquestioning, or shame-filled. It can be bold, articulate, strategic. For you as viewer, this means you aren't just watching a local plea, you're watching a shift in narrative. When communities like Mwamatama become visible, the power dynamics shift. Voice over invisibility, agency over passivity. And for global watchers, for aid agencies, for government, this matters because it reframes help not as charity but as collaboration. So this fact shows that the story extends beyond letters and parcels. It touches identity, structure, change. It's about Malawi in 2025 deciding to speak, decide, and act. And that's why you should care. And now, drum roll fact 10. What you, our viewer, can do. Because you've got skin in this too. So here we are at the finale. You've heard the ask, the promise, the context, the reactions, the risks, the upside, the bigger meaning. Now ask yourself, what's your role in all this? You could simply watch, but you could also engage. You could ask questions. You could challenge assumptions. You could comment. You could share. When we talk about communities like Mwamatama asking for things, one often overlooked factor is, what does the audience do? When you watch this channel at Global Pulse News and you feel stirred, you become part of the story. You can amplify the voice. You can ask for transparency. You can push for accountability. You can become a lens through which stories like this are seen. In Malawi-style slang, you've got to be on your toes. Don't just scroll. Respond, reflect, react. Because when you do that, you magnify the impact of that public ask. And maybe you help turn it from ask into change. So yes, your role is big and your voice matters. Right then, massive thanks for staying with us through this ride. Now it's your turn. Hit the like button if you feel Mwamatama's plea matters. Drop a comment below. Would you respond if you were in their shoes? Should we send things or demand clarity first? Subscribe to Global Pulse News if you're ready for more bold stories, more Malawi-style insight, and yes, some real talk. While you're at it, we want to say a big shout-out to our sister channels, Sparkling Kids and Rema Fatima. Let's grow together. Be a voice as a family. Show them love by liking, subscribing, and commenting. Because when you engage, you don't just watch, you join the story. We'll see you next time. Stay sharp, stay engaged, stay Malawi strong.